One of the interesting things that came out of World War II was the use of parachute fabric in fashion. And we have two examples here in the collection. One that's actually made from a nylon parachute and another that was made from a silk parachute. Now, nylon was a relatively new innovation shortly before World War II broke out. And because after the bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941, that cut off all of our access to silk. So the Allies could not use silk for their parachutes. That was only for German and Japanese parachutes. And the Allies then developed nylon into a parachute material. And so what we have here are the two results of that. This little negligee was actually an award-winning design. It was made by a woman who was a student here at Ohio State University, and her fiance was in the military and sent her this parachute, and she created this design and submitted it to the Cleveland Plain Dealer newspaper. Was actually running a contest, and you can see that she incorporated the use of the triple flat-felled seams into the design of this skirt of this robe, and that this garment actually won her first place for the Plain Dealer, and then went on to New York, where she was in that contest and had gotten an honorable mention for her design there. This was Lillian Luoma and her negligee that she eventually then wore on her honeymoon. Our next parachute actual wedding dress was from 1946, and this one has a great story. It's a silk dress, and the way that she came about getting this silk is that her husband, when he was in the Air Force, actually came across some hangars that the Germans had set fire to as they were retreating. And in these hangars, he found a couple of parachutes that he brought home as souvenirs. And when he decided to get married to Betty, who lived just down the way, up around Youngstown, Ohio, his mother actually suggested, well, why don't you use one of those parachutes for the material for the wedding dress? So they gave the material to a local tailor up in Youngstown, and he actually fashioned this wedding dress, and it too has the flat-felled seams of the parachute that were woven into the design. And you can see that there's quite a bit of train. It's a very lightweight fabric, as a parachute would be. But he also had the forethought to keep the original label information of the German parachute manufacturer, the date that it was made, and also the insignia of the Luftwaffe, who had inspected this parachute so that it would be actually approved for use. So Betty and Edwin got married in 1946, and this was her wedding dress.